Welcome back to movie theaters.
Oh my god. You could have shown me anything, man. I would have been happy to see it in a movie theater.
Well, that's because you weren't there for Tulsa.
Oh god. This was really just seeing posters again with different movies in them.
Oh, you should have been there when they briefly brought it back last summer around when Tenet came out, and it was all still the old posters in there, like from the before time.
No, the theater I haven't gone past it a bit, but it's like they still had like Sonic the Hedgehog posters up there, and they were just like faded. Like
they had a Mulan standee in there several months ago that was like knocked down, and the candy was old. It actually kind of. So the last movie you saw in theaters was Invisible Man?
Yeah, and it's funny. It's fitting that I see this because I actually got a screening, I should say, for it, and then COVID happened, so they canceled it. So when he said, "Hey, you want to go see Spiral?" I'm like, "Wow, this comes full circle." Yeah, like a Spiral.
Lee Wanell is the executive producer of this, and he directed Invisible Man since he co-wrote the first Saw movie.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I didn't even know he co-wrote the first Saw movie.
Oh, yeah, he's Adam, the guy who's chained in there with Carrie Elwes.
He directed The Invisible Man?
Yeah, and Upgrade.
That's right, to do Upgrade. Oh my god, this guy's becoming like my new favorite guy.
I love him. I have since like the Saw days, and so you've just seen the first one, right?
Well, not just. Okay, I thought you meant like just recently.
No.
Yeah, I saw the first one. I didn't get too into it, though I do like the idea. I like with all these movies, you always think, what would I do if I was in that situation? I really like that. But it was a little too early 2000s for me with like the editing and stuff. But I'll say, watching your review and figuring out, what was it, $1 million to make or something like that? I would not have. I will guess this movie was $1 million, minus the cast.
This one does bring it back to all those early 2000s edits and some other time periods as well. I really liked going to see these movies, the Saw movies, because it was tradition for us. I do like the first one. I've got a soft spot for all of them. Yeah. The only one that really made me mad was the final chapter, because it was like the final chapter, and then it's bullshit. It's like, okay, now I'm mad. I've invested 7 years in this.
Well, and there is something always cool. I guess for me, maybe it was the Paranormal Activity movies. I'm definitely not gonna have, like, those were always great. But there is something cool about every year you're gonna see a blank movie. There is something really, especially around a certain time of year, Halloween and stuff like that. So
because they're around in October.
I get it, and they're a great tradition, and they are creative. Like I said, I haven't really seen the other ones, but I've seen clips of them, and it's like the ways that they have to either get out of the traps or be killed are super creative, you know. So I was looking forward to this, honestly, because I thought this was gonna be kind of like a new take on a new spin. I really like Chris Rock.
The second revival.
I really like Chris Rock. When I saw he was not only in it, but he was also producing it, that got me really into it. I thought it was pretty fucking lame.
I had fun.
Did you?
But it's silly as hell.
See, I wanted it to be sillier.
This, I thought, was one of the silliest ones in the entire series.
Okay, so here's my thing. Okay. It goes without saying there's a shit ton of cop cliches in this. You look at the trailer, you get that. But,
oh my god.
No, but here's my problem.
Yeah.
You start off with Chris Rock kind of doing a routine talking about Forrest Gump, and it's funny. I legit laughed. And he has one other line about, women cheat on men too. I just found out that Pilates don't exist. Another fantastic line. Yeah. He doesn't have one other funny thing in this movie, and on top of that, he's just saying all the typical cliched cop lines, which I wouldn't mind if they did anything new with it. I think like Pacific Rim, where they have all the action cliches or the Expendables and stuff. That's fine. You can be really committed to, but do something big, do something fun, do something new. Nothing was new. Even some of the kills, I thought the first two were pretty good.
I thought were pretty extreme.
The first two I thought were pretty good. After that, they would either cut away or just sort of like, and then this happened to the person. They wouldn't show too much detail, and they almost seemed to get a little lazier as they went on. But the first two, I was legit like, all right, it's a little, that's a little, and they didn't always have to show much either. But yeah, so for me, I felt it didn't really grab me that much as a Saw movie, and then it didn't really grab me that much as a cop movie, because neither added anything that new.
No. And this is going to be one of those weird reviews where I like it better than you, but I don't disagree with a word you're saying. Like,
what was fun? What was fun about it? Because that's what I'm
just like having
about.
these movies back.
Okay,
I just like these movies. I do. This is the second revival they've done. That last one that was called Jigsaw, which was also about crooked cops. It's almost like this is a remake of that one, kinda. But there are different things that this one does do in its storytelling that does set itself apart from the other ones. Granted, what it's doing new is only when you're comparing it to the other ones, not when you're comparing it to different kinds of cliches in cop movies and stuff like that. And when I went to go see Jigsaw a couple of years ago, yeah, it was a movie that didn't need to exist. It added nothing new, really. It was just kind of this weird revival that they threw out there, but we had a good time with it. It was sort of like going to a class reunion where everyone dies and it just becomes a slasher movie. And with this, I was sitting there watching it going like, this is just preposterous, and it's weird some of the choices that they're making. But I'm glad I'm here, because I just like going to see these movies, and I'm usually thoroughly entertained by them. And I was in this too, despite the bizarre choices that they make with the movie. So maybe I'm not the most objective person to be reviewing this film.
No, well, it's so fun. I'm the exact opposite. I think it could have been even more bizarre, even more crazy, even more out there.
What I mean by bizarre isn't really so much the traps, really, or
more why people are doing it, how they're doing it, and stuff like that.
Well, okay, the opening scene of the movie starts out like a Saw movie. It does. And then it opens with a trap. And then, like the other Saw movies, the graphic stuff in the trap happens. Bam, you got the title. What this movie does is suddenly another movie kicks in.
Yeah.
Where it instantly goes into that Forrest Gump routine that you're talking about, where it's like it becomes another movie. Like you've sat on the remote, and now this 90s cop comedy is happening, like you've switched from Saw to Blue Streak.
Yeah.
And that was one of the most bizarre tonal switches I've seen in this entire series. So part of me kind of liked that how it starts out with Chris Rock in this movie is like a buddy cop comedy that crashes into a Saw film. And that was different, because this movie is, the setup is different than the other ones, in that the other ones had entries where that would be about a cop, like whether it's the second one with Donnie Wahlberg or Scott Patterson with Five. But in those, whenever you'd be with the Donnie Wahlberg stuff, you would simultaneously also be with the stuff going on in the house and the people in the trap. Same with the other ones. You'd have the cop stuff, and then you'd have the other stories.
This is like a pure cop movie. Once in a while, there's a Saw trap in it. This
one is paced a lot differently in that it is 100% a cop movie.
And I was excited for it. I'm not going to lie. Maybe that was it. Maybe I did just have that total idea. This is going to be a cop detective movie with Saw traps every once in a while, and I was okay with that. I was actually like, that's a cool angle. It just wasn't an interesting cop movie or a Saw movie.
What this is like one of the 7 knockoffs that you would see post-7. People compared the first one to 7, and I can see why. But no, after you see this is a 7 knockoff. Hardcore. It feels like something that that should have come out about 20 plus years ago. Again, which is maybe why because there's edits in this movie that I haven't seen in a couple of decades. So maybe part of me was just kind of like, well, I don't know, but this is kind of refreshing. It's sort of like someone who, like, maybe way back when would have, like, annoyed you, but then you don't see him in 20 years, and you're like, hey, there's this guy. I mean, and I like the Saw movies. I'm mainly talking about the kind of the way this is edited and shot. Like, it does the thing where someone gets bad information and then it cuts to like a
and then back to normal.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
That's what's going on inside his head, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a while since I've seen something like that. Hey, welcome back. You know, you belong in this 7 knockoff Saw movie.
You know what it's probably like? It's probably like me in the Tom and Jerry movie. Again, I know that's a bad movie.
Sure.
But I'm a diehard Tom and Jerry fan. I've seen them really go through the shit. And so just to see them do what they do in an entertaining enough way, I'm like, all right, I'm satisfied, you know, kind of thing. But I can't say, no, this is like really well made. It's like, no, it's still stupid. But it's like, it tugs at my heartstrings because the stuff I do want to see, it gave me just enough of them. Like, okay, all right.
I know. Yeah, it's my Tom and Jerry.
There you go.
Is what this is. If only that movie was this violent. Whoa, dude!
Jerry, I want to play a game.
Tim's story went dark.
I guess I don't think there'll be any spoilers, and I think this is really just a spoiler who the killer isn't. I don't think I've ever been more wrong about a movie. I thought this was like another Village for me, where I was going to watch the trailer and know what the surprise was at the end, because, again, I'm not going to say who the killer is, I'll just point out who it isn't. Because as soon as I saw the trailer, the voice, you know, usually the voice sounds like this, and now it sounds like this. Anytime I hear that voice in a movie and someone trying to say, it's always a woman. Like, always. And I'm saying this is not giving away, you know, who one person is, because there's only one woman in the movie. So throughout the whole film, I'm like, it's so fucking clear who it is. Come on. Oh, God, even kind of looks like her, and the perfect motivation is there. Oh, my God. And then, something happens to Zed character. I said, oh, maybe it doesn't. Even while it's happening, I'm like, oh, it's a setup.
Yeah. I knew who the killer was.
Yeah,
I did. Like,
and honestly, looking back, because I was so, it's clearly her, when now looking back, I was like, oh, that editing choice was weird around that one, and then it's like, oh, okay.
I had suspicions before then. I was like, I bet it's this person. Mm-hmm. And then when that one editing choice you're talking about in this one key scene involving this character, I was like, they're not showing something.
Yeah.
And after that, I was like, that's who this is. Mm-hmm. So I was like not surprised at all. It's strange because the rest of it was done so by the book, and so just sort of, again, I feel like low budget, you know, and like there's no surprises in it at all, that maybe that's what tricked me. Yeah. That when, you know, well, obviously they're gonna go for the obvious choice because everything else in this obvious movie is obviously obvious, and then they go, oh, they didn't do that cliche, they did this cliche, which is actually like, okay, that's honestly a little better because I didn't get it. Though I do say to myself, how did they get that voice then? Because that's got to be the person doing a different voice while also manipulating the voice. Yeah, just manipulate it. Like, it showed the person at one point with some software who they were using for one particular thing. I wasn't really surprised by anything in this. I was asking a lot of questions during it, which is one, I like how this is the most corrupt precinct I've ever seen in a cop movie. Mm-hmm. Like, it's hilariously corrupt. And there were such weird ways of storytelling where it's flashing back to what a lot of these cops have done, and that Chris Rock is like the only good cop in this precinct, and they all hate him for this because he turned in
a crooked cop.
Which seemed like, I'm like, okay, in these flashbacks, it's making this look like it was about 15, 20 years ago. Why are these other cops acting like this just happened? And, and wouldn't why is he still in this precinct?
I love, too, when, like, the first cop that dies, Chris Rock is like, he was a good friend of mine. And it's like, have we ever seen them together? Well, I haven't even seen a picture of these two. I haven't seen them on screen, look at each other, and he's supposed to be like, oh my God, the best friend. And another great scene is when the partner, because of course he has a newly assigned partner in this, and he wants to work alone.
Yeah. it's all in there.
Yeah, and at one scene, the partner's going, no, he says, hey, good work today. And I said, did he? Did he do good work? Like, we didn't see him do any good work.
No, I leaned over and told you he held the flowers earlier.
Yeah,
when he went to go see the widow. He did it very good. Like,
so even like this cliched buddy cop movie where they're supposed to grow closer, like you don't even see them grow closer.
Did you like Chris Rock in the movie?
About half the time. Sometimes I totally bought it. But I don't know. There's a problem when I buy him more as a cop in Lethal Weapon 4 than I do here. You know what I mean?
More in this one.
You know what it is? It's that half the time, I believe his anger. Obviously Chris Rock.
Yeah,
but
so did I.
But I don't always believe. Like, he's acting like, I've been around, been the force for a while, man. I know my shit. I know it's like, maybe it's the voice. Maybe it's the fact that he does still bring so much energy. And maybe it's because he still looks younger and stuff. I just don't buy him as an older cop. I buy Samuel Jackson as an older cop, clearly. I mean, he can play that in his sleep and he plays it great. And I don't... Maybe if they just wrote better lines for him, I mean, I don't know, and maybe that was it, because every line he had was so stock. Yeah. I mean, just so by the book, that it made me pay more attention to the performance than what he was saying, because it's like, well, I know he's gonna say, you're out of order, I don't have any support around here, just everything that cops say in these movies 30, 40 years ago.
Some parts I thought he was really, like, honestly, when I saw the trailer, I was kind of going, I don't know, it's starting to feel like he might be a little miscast in this. But watching it, there's parts I thought he did really, really well. And even in the parts where I thought he was lacking a little bit, that were usually in some of the quieter moments in the, because there's scenes where he's really good in this, I thought. And I liked him better in this than I did in Lethal Weapon 4. But I did appreciate the kind of breath of fresh air that he brought to the series, and that he's kind of a new type of character who's in this series. And a lot of times he's being Chris Rock. And even the parts where I didn't buy it as much as other parts, I was still kind of liking the fact that this character starts out like he is in a buddy comedy from 20 years ago, where then suddenly this graphic Saw movie happens. Yeah. So that, I was kind of appreciating that it was Chris Rock in this movie. When it came, now I'm not going to say what happens at the end of this movie, but all the other Saw movies have some kind of twist or shocking death or kill or some big oh shit moment at the end, which is when the music always kicks in. Yeah. In this, it's got that type of scene, but it's less that the movie ends in the fashion that a typical Saw movie ends, where it will end with kind of a gotcha or a surprise or a cliffhanger. This movie just kind of stops. Yeah,
like, I actually kind of thought, okay, well, now the climax is going to start. Nope, credits.
It's a short movie.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised when, you kind of know they're getting to the wrap-up point. I was kind of like, I'm not even, like, having that much fun, like I said, but I was just like, oh, we're here already? All right.
Like, I hope there's a new one of these movies every year, because all my criticisms I have of this movie, fine, I'll be there next year. And I'm like, show us what happens after this. They don't even talk about the guy who was the killer in the last movie, in Jigsaw. What about that guy? What about that Jigsaw copycat killer?
I'll say this, now that they've used every single cop cliche, I'd be curious what they do for a sequel. Yeah, it's like, well, we ran out of those. We're gonna make it a rom-com now. I don't know.
That would be awesome.
Chris Rock.
Oh yeah, yeah. I hope it. I don't know what the budget for this movie is. Darren Lynn Bousman directed it, who directed a handful of the sequels. And so I hope this movie makes its money because I want this back every single year. And yeah, improve on this one. But it's nice to have it back. I don't know. I've got no standards when it comes to these movies.
You give it to the Stockholm.
Not even that, because it's like if someone, because it's not like I started out hating this series and then was like, it's fine. No, I was always kind of into these, so I just fully accepted the Stockholm from the very beginning. I don't know. If you're like me when it comes to this series, you're gonna have issues with the movie because I certainly do. And yeah, I wish it was better than it is, but I didn't have a bad time.
I will say it's probably not the best to review a Saw movie with a guy who didn't even get that much into the first one. I'm
that's fine.
Not super huge into them, but I mean, I do get them. I get why they're popular, and I do really like the I like the creativity, and I like the energy of them. And maybe that's another thing with this one. I didn't get too much energy out of it. It's sometimes the kills were, and then again, without giving away, the last scene before it cuts to the credits, when you kind of see what the killer has in mind and stuff, it was a little funny.
Yeah.
I mean, as it was happening, I'm kind of laughing. It's a shame. It's a shame. Let me put it this way: if you watch and you're just like, "What's funny about that?" Just verbally say out loud what's happening.
Yeah,
and you'll start laughing while saying it.
It was creative. I kind of enjoyed that. I did.
But it does have one of those scenes where it's like the killers that say you can either blank or blank. But in this one, it's like, no, there's no or. You just do this thing and then you do the other blank.
He was wasting a lot of time there. He was. It has the energy of a direct-to-video cop movie.
Yeah,
it has a different kind of feel, really, than any of the others in the series, even the last one, Jigsaw. But so if you've got a soft spot for the Saw movies and direct-to-video cop movies, which I kind of do too. There you go.
I would say the exact same thing.
Yeah. So if you saw this on your own, you'd be like, well, Brad would probably like this.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say you're wrong. Just for me, I'm just like, oh. Hearing that description, I'm sure there's a lot of people that'd be like, hell yeah!
Bring it. I've already got my ticket. If there's any other criticism I have is that it should have been released in October.
Yeah.
When all the other ones were
well,
the first one was, I can't remember when the first one
was. Well, now I'm trying to, it must have been last year. It was early last year, wasn't it? Like March or...
Is that when this was originally supposed to come out?
Again, I'm trying to think because of COVID, because we stopped going to the studio around March. So yeah, March, maybe April. Either March or April. But you're right. It's like, why wouldn't they do October either way? Yeah.
Like, the tagline for one of them, like 6, or one of them was like, if it's Halloween, that means it's Saw. Like, it was just so synonymous with being released in October.
Well, it's kind of like the releasing, like, to tie this into the kid version of these films, the Hotel Transylvania films are being released in summer now, which is so weird. It's like, well, why do I want to see that? They're come on, Dracula, Frankenstein monster, Mama, why? It's summer.
Yeah, put them both in October. You can have a drive-in double feature.
There you go. The cartoon before the actual film.
Yeah. Show Cobweb Hotel really scare the shit out of them first. What grade would you give this?
I'll be mean and say D+.
Yeah. I can't be like, you're wrong, bro. I can't do that, but I'm giving it a B.
I get it. I mean.
Because, I don't know, I just like these movies. I do.
No, I get you, man. I get you.
Yeah, it's flawed as hell. So much of it doesn't make sense. You can ask so many questions about it. It has a silliness to it that is beyond the other ones. Because the other ones, when they would get silly, they would try to explain it. They would, even if it was in a sequel.
I was gonna say, maybe we have to wait for the sequel to explain the stuff in this one.
I don't know what that could be, to be perfectly honest. I don't know what it could be to, like, explain, like...
It was all a dream.
Yeah. One of the only things I don't think they actually did do in these. But, well, that was Spiral from the Book of Saw. From the Book of Saw.
Yeah, isn't that a great time?
Yeah. Let us know in the comments what you think. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Take care.